So today is a bit of a special day because we are on the 11th of March 2021, and the Circular Economy Action Plan was adopted exactly 1 year ago by the European Commission. So for me, it's a very good way to have the first anniversary of the Circular Economy Action Plan and to be with you to discuss it further. The Circular Economy Action Plan is part of the European Green Deal. As you know, the European Green Deal is one of the six priorities of Ursula von der Leyen for the years to come. I mean, clearly, the first priority is to make Europe a climate neutral continent by 2050. And all the different policies have to contribute to climate neutrality, but also to other environmental goals. So this is a major mainstreaming of environmental protection in all policies, but it is first and foremost the growth strategy chosen for Europe. So all the commissioners were extremely quick in working on the European Green Deal, which was adopted at the second meeting of the European Commission in December 2019. And then a few months after, we had the adoption of the industrial strategy and the circular economy action plan, on which I will now focus. So you see that it is one of the branches of the Green Deal, together with the Climate Pact and the Climate Law, with energy policy, with biodiversity protection, or with the renovation wave. And why was it so important to focus on the need to transform our economy into a more circular economy? Because, as I was telling you, we are really mining the earth to unprecedented levels. It's a race to resources which we face. And from the moment I was born to 2017, the annual global extraction of materials tripled, and it continues to grow immensely. And 90% of the biodiversity loss and water stress and 50% of climate change is related to resource extraction and processing. What we also see is that the waste generation is increasing globally and will continue to do so by 70% by 2050, according to the World Bank. What we see also is that only 12% of the materials which are used by the European Union industry comes from recycling. This means that we rely 88% of the time on virgin raw material. So again, mining the earth in all sense for the production and the consumption of our goods and services. So we have an opportunity to make sure that this 12% goes up and that we use the resources which we have as much as possible, instead of always counting on new resources. We also see that the circular economy is a key to recovery. We had major disruption of the global supply chains, a lot of insecurity on the job side. And so we really bet on circular economy as a solution for a healthier planet, but even more for new business opportunities, for local jobs, and all types of jobs. It can be jobs in the waste management industry, but it can also be circular economy managers in different companies, life cycle analysts again in different companies. So there are many types of jobs that can be created in very many segments. Also, we see that it is important for social cohesion. Circular economy is very often associated with the social economy, and to have less pollution and more value for the EU industry. I mean, the idea is really to make sure that we invent business models where European Union companies have an advantage and can develop them abroad. So you know that confronted with the crisis in Europe, the European Union leaders have decided about a new recovery plan, which is called Next Generation EU. Why is it called like this? Because Ursula von der Leyen wanted to make sure that the investments which we will make in our economy will benefit the next generation, and that we build in a greener way, in a smarter way, in a digital way too. So we have now a new recovery instrument, which is agreed and set in stone, of 750 billion euros, which will be used to finance projects through loans and also through grants. And this will be done together with member states, each of them filing their plans for their recovery. And we've been really strongly pushing circular economy as a key pillar of the national recovery plans. 37% of the spending will need to be dedicated to climate protection. And so circular economy has a lot to offer on this. So this is the exceptional recovery plan, which is now adopted. And we also have the budget for the European Union adopted for the years 2021 to 2027. And this is an additional 1,100 billion euros, which will be dedicated to the different policies of the European Union. And there again, we have opportunities for research and innovation on circular economy through Horizon Europe, through the LIFE program, which is dedicated to climate and environment, or through Invest EU, which is dedicated to investments and green investments. So what is the European strategy for changing the way Europe consumes and produces? We have listed 35 actions for the forthcoming 5 years, and they focus on the loop, as you can see on the left-hand side, with sustainable production and products, but also consumption and waste. So I will go through the different blocks of the strategy and the 35 actions. And also we have horizontal policies like making circular economy work for people, regions, and cities, circular economy as a requisite for climate neutrality, the need to change the economy, financial market, investments, global level playing field, and the monitoring of the transition. I must say that the Circular Economy Action Plan that was adopted by the European Commission exactly 1 year ago has received a very strong support from the 27 member states, from the European Parliament, for the European Committee of the Regions, and the Economic and Social Committee. So they have all looked at the proposals, and the circular economy is really a shared agenda. So when the 27 ministers for the environment met back in December 2020, they had a very good debate, and they really called the Commission and all the member states to strive for a full circular economy. They strongly welcomed the new circular economy as a central pillar of the European Green Deal, and also importance of focusing the new circular economy on a sustainable product policy, on certain value chains, and on waste prevention. We also work on the consumers and public buyers side. So not only on the eco-design of product per se, but by giving to consumers better means to choose green products. And when I say consumers, it can be you and I, or it can be also public authorities, because public authorities have a huge purchasing power of approximately 14% of the EU GDP. So when they need to buy green, when they need to buy, it would be really good to have green public orders in order to give to companies the incentives to produce in a greener way as well. For now, all the guidance we have been issuing is a voluntary guidance. And so there is no obligation for public authorities to buy green. And this we would like to change by phasing in mandatory procurement targets in specific legislation. And also we would like to know at what level public authorities buy green. We have very little reporting today on this matter, and this is really a problem. But I'm coming back to, final consumers like you and I. We are working a lot on establishing a new right to repair for consumers, and also to regulate the green claims which are made today on many products or in relation to many companies and organizations. So many products have logos, labels, claim that they are carbon neutral, that they are good for biodiversity, that they have a very low impact on water use, that they are biodegradable. So you can find a lot of green claims being issued today on different products and organizations. And behind this, you have many misleading claims. And sometimes you have real claims, but since they are based on different methods to calculate the environmental impact of a product and different data, it is extremely difficult to make sure that green claims are robust. And so we are also working on a new legislative proposal to ensure that companies that want to make green claims on their product base their claims on the so-called environmental footprint methods, which we have been developing at European Union level over the 10 past years. We see also that some companies want to communicate on only one impact, like climate change, but they can easily forget that a good impact on one hand can have a very bad impact on, for example, toxicity for human health or for water. So in our view, we should always take all the environmental impact into consideration. And we have listed 16 impacts. And we should always take the full life cycle of a product into account. This means from the extraction of raw materials to the end of life of that product. We have selected a number of key product value chains, which are related very much to our consumption, be it plastics, packaging, textiles, construction and buildings is huge, food is huge as well, electronics and ICT, and batteries and vehicles. So those are the key product value chains to which we want to continue dedicate a lot of attention. We are also working on the circular electronics initiatives to promote the longer lifespan of electronic devices. So to make sure that your smartphone, tablets, computers are conceived to last long, and you are given all the possibility to repair them, reuse, and that the different components of a computer are not glued together. To prevent planned obsolescence, we are working also on a common charger on how to incentivize citizens to return their electronics equipment, old phones, tablets, chargers, instead of keeping them in different drawers across Europe, because they have very valuable materials in there. And also how to restrict hazardous substances in electrical and electronic equipment. Plastics has been a focus of intervention for the 5 past years. Everybody is well aware of the challenges linked to plastics, be it for biodiversity. We all have seen animals full of plastics, dying of plastics. We have seen marine pollution. We are less aware of the pollution of the soil, but it exists as well. And this has also an impact on human health. We see that the consumption of plastics continues. So at the European Union level, we continue to work hard to ensure the implementation of the directive on single-use plastics and fishing gears. I guess you have heard about it. But also to restrict the addition of microplastics by companies in certain products. For example, in paints or in cosmetics. So the European Chemical Agency, which is based in Helsinki, is working on restriction measures on this type of microplastics. One issue that we have is that microplastics, of course, are also produced by the use of the textiles, we wear. So when you wash your clothes, this releases a lot of microplastics. But you also have microplastics coming from the use of your cars through tires. And so, how to deal with this release of microplastics is a challenge. So we are working with the industry to look at possible measures, and obviously citizens and non-governmental organizations are very committed on this file. We are also looking at the so-called bio-based plastics. So bio-based means that this is coming from renewable resources and not fossil fuel. And also so-called biodegradable plastics, where we have many doubts as to what this biodegradable plastics means. Sometimes you can see that you have bags at the supermarkets, which are called, biodegradable bags. But if you leave this in your compost in your garden, then it is unlikely to biodegrade properly. So biodegradability is mostly done in industrial facilities. And then what it means in practice in different environments, be it in the seas, it very much depends on the conditions in which the plastic biodegrades. So the situation will be very different from the north of Europe to the south of Europe, from the soil to the rivers. And so we are very cautious on innovation on biodegradable plastics. We would like to promote innovation when it is really beneficial for the environment, but to be very prudent when it is not. And this is rather a kind of license to litter, and we take this type of biodegradable plastics as if it would be a banana skin that we can throw away without any problem. So those are the main files we are working on to fight plastics pollution. On textile, we are also preparing a textile strategy for this year. In Europe, all the clothes will have to be separately collected by 2024. And the question will be, what do we do with the collection of these clothes? How can we sort, reuse, recycle textiles through an innovation, and make sure that it does not go to the landfill or to the incineration? I mean, you see the green dot on the slides that less than 1% of all textiles worldwide are recycled. So we really have to change this model. This is a sector which has a lot of impact also on climate change. It is said to have the same impact as aviation and maritime CO2 emissions combined. So this is really huge. And the impact is not limited to climate change, since textiles has a lot of impact in terms of soil degradation, in terms of the chemicals which are being used, in terms of water use and pollution of water. So we really need to change this fast fashion system we are caught in, and continue to provide incentives to support circular business models, and also businesses that promote the sharing, the selling of clothes instead of always buying new. We also have still a big focus on waste. In the European Union, each citizen produces 500 kilos of waste every year. 500 kilos of waste per EU citizen every year. So it's huge. When you look at packaging, this represents 173 kilos of packaging waste per year. So, I mean, we really live in a society which produces a lot of waste, where the zero waste movement has been initiated for good reasons, and we need to prevent waste in the first place. So this is why we have a waste framework directive, which sets objectives for all countries of the European Union. Everybody has a role to play, from citizens to local authorities to national states, but there are also rules in place at European Union level to prevent waste in the first place. We have also specific directive on packaging, end-of-life vehicles, electronic and electrical equipments, batteries, we spoke before. What we need to do is to also transform that waste into new resources when the waste is created. there are many challenges linked to chemicals, because if you have harmful chemicals in the waste and you use it to create new resources, you ultimately end up with the hazardous substances again in the new product. So this is why we really need to develop chemicals that are safe by design in the first place, and then find solutions to reduce the presence of hazardous substances when materials are recycled. And a very strong emphasis is to address the waste exports as well. The European Commission President has been very strong in saying that we cannot export our waste challenges, our environmental problems, and our health problems to other countries. So we will be progressively tightening up the possibility to export waste from Europe to abroad, and make sure that we keep our waste also as a secondary raw material for the European Union and for the European industry. So this is about the legal trade in waste, but we also need to combat illegal trade in waste, and you're interested in trade in the master. And this is a big part of environmental crime. So when you look at illegal trade and the different mafias across the world, you have trade in human beings, of course, which is very lucrative and difficult to handle. But you also have trade in endangered species, be it wood or different animals or substances, and you have also the trade in waste. So really related to environmental crime. So I'm now coming to the global dimension on the circular economy, which we will explore further in June. We at European Union level, we clearly know that we cannot transit to a circular economy alone. We need to do it with partners around the world to keep resource use within planetary boundaries, to decouple global economic growth from resource use, and to promote jobs, be it within Europe or outside Europe. So we've been working with countries at multilateral level, for example, with the United Nations for the Environment, but also at bilateral level with many different countries in all continents to promote circular economy. And so you see different boxes. The big initiative we have on the agenda is to propose a global agreement on plastics. We saw that the European Union's example on the plastic strategy and the single-use plastics directive has been seen as a progress by many countries around the world, and many countries have copied and pasted the single-use plastics directive in their own legislation. There were many resolutions passed at multilateral level. So there is a willingness from countries to act, but currently there is no legal international instrument to deal with plastics from the production to the end of life. So this is a proposal made by the Europeans, very much supported by all the member states and the European Parliament, to negotiate this global agreement on plastics. Then we have seen that it was not always easy to have a coalition of states defending the circular economy and the resource efficiency. And this is why, together with the United Nations for the Environment, we have launched back in February this year the Global Circular Economy and Resource Efficiency Alliance. And many countries decided to team up with the European Union to promote circular economy globally. We are also working on including circular economy in free trade agreements. The European Commission has just adopted its new trade strategy for the years to come. And among the initiatives, we would like to see if we could promote the trade in climate neutral and circular economy products over other types of products in free trade agreements. So this is likely to be an interesting field of activity in the years to come. We've been also developing the so-called circular economy missions abroad. So teaming up with industries, NGOs, politicians from Europe, going to different countries in the world, Indonesia, Mexico, Kenya, to try to exchange our experience on circular economy at policy level, at business level, and at NGO level. And I must say that this type of missions have worked really well to promote the circular economy and to export, technologies like in the waste sector, which are very much needed in many countries. I mean, if you think about the strong points of Europeans on water management or waste management from countries like India, this is huge. So the circular economy missions, a kind of trade missions dedicated to circular economy, have worked really well. And we are also initiating discussions for a global agreement on natural resources management and a safe operating space for natural resource use. This will take some time, but again, when we see the climate change, the biodiversity challenge, we cannot solve that without taking into account the use of natural resources globally.